So the next step is to get the iron out of the paint. I'm not going to dry it. I have some old Auto Finesse. This stuff still works too, but I want to sort of use this up. But normally I would use Car Pro, but I've got this Auto Finesse, so I might as well use it up. But the idea here is to get any sort of iron contaminants embedded in the paint and the glass and the trim out of the paint, because a clay bar won't take that out. And so and your normal wheel cleaner will have some of this sort of chemical makeup in it. This stuff smells worse than you can imagine if you've never smelled it before. The Car Pro isn't as bad, but it's all bad. The key with this stuff is you don't want to, I've never tried it, but you want to make sure it doesn't dry in the sun or dry on the paint. So I always do it when it's wet, even though we probably don't get quite as good of a chemical breakdown of any iron. These spray bottles are terrible. And essentially, if there's iron, is the paint will turn purple. Gosh, I should put this in a different bottle, but it's so nasty that you just don't want to mess with it. There you go. Old car sprayed. Let that sit for a couple minutes. So we have some purple spots. Not quite as much as I thought we would see. So you see those little squiggly spots in the paint. That's our iron. Oh, there you go. You guys probably can't see it as well. Lots of purple all over it. So I'm gonna just rinse it off. I might let it sit another minute or so. It's been like about 2 minutes. Let it sit for another minute and then spray it off. Another thing you could do is sort of agitate it. We're just dragging a wet microfiber across it. All right, it's been 3 or 4 minutes, so I'm gonna rinse it. So the next step in the decontamination process is to either clay or auto scrub the car. I'm gonna clay it. It feels pretty jacked up as far as contaminants are concerned from the shipping. So I'm gonna clay it. I'm gonna use Adams clay with some Adams detail spray. Alright, so it's just a big old clay bar. Shoot, I'm just going to use the whole stinking thing. Normally you would break off a piece of this, but I think I'm just going to use the whole darn thing. Just hope I don't drop it. The other thing that I like to do with a clay bar is put a glove on. It doesn't stick to my hand. It's already sticky. So the car is still wet out there, and I'm just going to hammer through it with this clay bar. Okay, so here's how we clay. I'm going to wet the surface. Again, the surface is already slightly wet. But I've got my clay bar, Got it nice and lubricated. And I don't need to use tons of pressure, but I'm not going to be scared about moving it aggressively across the paint. Now on the vinyl, I need to be careful on the edges, but I'm going to clay that as well. As long as I move in straight lines, I shouldn't have to worry about getting the clay underneath the sides of it. And if you use a big old piece of clay like this, it does make it a little easier to deal with getting these big panels like this big old hood done. So I don't want to go this way on any kind of sticker or vinyl or emblem. I want to stay in line with it. Because getting clay up underneath there is really annoying. So this will be the last step in the decontamination process. Clay the lights as well. So since we're doing this, let's talk a little bit about GT350 and GT350R, and I can't believe how many questions. I guess if you don't really know much about these cars, then you would just sort of assume that you get a GT350R. I probably would have gotten one, but they're just not available. I mean, they only made a few hundred of them, 500, 600 of them, something like that. Who knows? No, I don't think anybody really knows yet. And really, for what I'm going to be doing with it, the slight differences really certainly aren't worth the massive premiums that their idiot dealers are asking for these things. I didn't pay a premium on this. I bought it at sticker, which I know some of you guys, that goes against what you would normally do. But I'm willing to pay the asking price if it's, if I think it's worth it. But the R is unavailable, so I guess the differences are kind of a moot point. But I made many comments, follow-up comments on YouTube about sort of people just sort of assuming, usually younger people, I would guess, sort of just asking a simple question or stating a simple fact that why would any idiot not just get the R? One, because I think some young guys don't have a reference for what things cost. And two, maybe they just think that I'm independently, sort of magically wealthy. But the GT350R is the same car. It's the same transmission. It's the same body. It's the same everything, but a few sort of minor differences. Especially the 2017 GT350 comes with the track pack. Dang, I've got a little bit underneath there. So there's only minor differences between this and the R. They have the same transmission, the same motor. The exhaust differences, the resonators are deleted, which I'll probably do to start and wait for more exhaust options to come out on this. The interior has red stitching, which I despise red stitching. I know most of you guys probably love it. Seems like every dude in America loves red stitching. I hate it. So I would have begged to have an R option without red stitching all over the place in the interior. So the red stitching in the interior, of course, the option to delete the radio and delete the air conditioning, which is, I mean, if this is a dedicated track car, maybe I wouldn't buy this if this was going to be my dedicated track car. I'd buy something else. I don't know what, but not this. And The R, of course, has 315, 305 tire combo, which you can easily just put on the car if you wanted to for $1,000 or maybe $1,800 for new, you know, just to upsize the tires. But then, of course, you have tram lining and some issues on the road when you're trying to drive down the street. The R has bigger or stiffer front springs, most likely to compensate for the bigger tires, you know, slightly wider wheels. And of course, the big thing, which I would have really loved to have, would have been, you know, the carbon fiber wheels. Those are freaking cool. You know, not the best looking wheels in the world, but they're, who cares? They're like 12 pounds or whatever the heck they are. So I would have loved to have that. And then you know, of course, some aerodynamics, some body panels underneath. And then we have the bigger wing in the back, which you can have that. I don't really care about that. And then, of course, the red stripe on the vinyl, which $10 says I'll end up having the vinyl off this thing at some point. At least that's my guess. So they are, you know, it's still, they both have the Tremec transmission. They both have the, you know, same stuff. It's the same frickin' car. Just one has some bolt-ons on it. And as you guys know, I tend to buy bolt-ons and put on the car. All right, so I used an entire bottle of detail spray, and now the car is completely decontaminated. I always throw a few squirts of detail spray in with my clay bar, seal it up. It's good for at least 10 cars. I usually end up throwing the stuff away because it hardens, because like everything, I try to take good care of my clay. That wraps up the decontamination process. I'm going to hose this thing down, or rinse the thing off and dry it off in preparation of polish. But that sort of finishes up the process of, of course, I did the wheels and tires, which is a whole nother video. Wheels and tires are done. I still have to treat the tires. So that project is done. I took the license plate off, did the rear exhaust tips, cleaned the engine bay. I sort of cleaned some of the sticky stuff off the outside of the windows. There's a bunch of sticky stuff on the inside of the windows. We'll do an interior probably some other day. And then we stripped it, if you will, by putting some Chemical Guys Citrus Red, followed with an iron out solution. I used Auto Finesse. You can use any of them, really. So we used an iron out solution to get the iron out. Then I clayed. You could clay or auto scrub using a detail spray. I'm going to hose it off and then dry it. And then we'll inspect the paint, and I'll do a whole nother video on polishing and getting the paint sort of dialed in. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor.